Welcome to this poetry collage of world poetry. Poetry connects hearts, connects nations and continents. We are very happy to include Shanta Acharya, Indian-born, UK-settled diasporic poetess. We are very happy to include Yogesh Patel, Indian-born, UK-settled diasporic poet. Both of them are soul makers. We thank Danielle Hanson from USA. She has different awards and different achievements to her credit. We are grateful to Sarita Jenamani of Austria, who was born in Odisha and is a part of diasporic Indian English poetry. We are thankful to the South African poetess Zena John. She has built up different minds and souls in different places. We are happy with Srilata from Tamil Nadu, a leading poetess from India. We are also happy to include Gopal Lahiri, a Bengali poet who is an important voice from eastern part of India. We are grateful to the great Australian poet Catherine Cole. She is a poetess and she is a part of different poetry fraternity and is biographer of great Jaydeep. I thank my co-curator Basudhara Roy for giving final shape to this brilliant poetry collage. This is not definite, but this is also a humble attempt to showcase poetry, poetry of the mind, poetry of the nations. Enjoy.
An exclamation to break a tyranny of the liquid prison, a wail, a tearing exclamation bridges the velvet of the blue solitude, flapping over the sky, featherless, mid-ocean, nothing to add, words forever stunned, just drumbeats. The jetted bubbles of questions, thousands, a fountain of words to fall within, unanswered, perturbed, diffused history as before, with myriads of white petals tossed and offering to Surya. The whale dives as a question to the yogic peace, the equilibrium, a faith ascertained, a whale effaced. Man's sun scatters the bloody flowers on the altar of Pharaoh's sea. God shivers rigged with bombs, watching from the Sahara's waves of faith ascertained, a man effaced. The exclamation sky hops to find its own heaven, like suspended Trishanku and Jonah's deliverance, the red roses at its feet.
Hello, I'd like to read my poem Shunya. Shunya or zero, the concept of zero evolved in India in the mid 15th century, and by the time it reached Europe, it was almost the 12th century. So here is Shunya. It took centuries, the journey from cipher, invisible wedge, a thing of no importance, to zero, point of reckoning. Peace of the unknown fathomed, being counted, standing solidly, three-dimensional, banishing mystery, altering lives forever, establishing one's significance in space, time, trade, science, lending the world order, measuring phenomena, not just the freezing point of water, creating certainty, holding things together. Shunya, vessel taking the shape of whatever is poured into it, godlike, containing everything and nothing, pregnant with possibility, poised between positive, negative, life and death, vanishing point, knowing infinity, drawing down divinity, reflecting some of the universe, reducing all to itself, always transforming. Thank you very much. The poem has been published in various journals and is included in my book, Imagine New and Selected Poems. Thank you.
Hi, and thanks to Basudhara Roy and Jaydeep Sarangi for this wonderful initiative. These are surreal, very difficult times, but I think poetry can always help. So thank you once again. And for this particular session, I've chosen to read my poem Things I Didn't Know I Loved, after a poem by Nazim Hikmet in her honor. Right? And this poem is from my book, The Unmistakable Presence of Absent Humans. I didn't know I loved windows so much, but I do. Enough to wrestle someone to the ground over them, so light can once again flood my eyes. I didn't know I loved bare feet so much, or walking away on them to wherever point, my heart slung over my shoulder like a sheepskin bag. I didn't know I loved small islands of quiet in the middle of the day, but I do. They feel like old friends. I didn't know I loved the idea of night descending like a tired bird, or birds flying in and out of poems and rooms, but I do. I didn't know I loved so many things. Only now that I've read Hikmet, am I setting them free one by one. This is a poem I believe that is particularly suited to these times. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Hello. Thank you to Professor Jaydeep Sarangi and Dr. Basudhara Roy for this wonderful opportunity to share poetic moments with you. My name is Zena John, and I will share a new poem that I wrote during this global pandemic. The world is silenced. The world is silenced. A hum of peace pervades, thrumming as it explores and explodes within. The body dissolves into a sacred stillness. The futility of human endeavor fades. The heart shines like a beacon in the inky night of the soul. Love ascends and descends, permeating all that is. The vastness of space is explored instantly, soul soaring to encompass everything that was, is, and will be. Divinity embraces us all. Thank you.
Hello from Vienna. I'm Sarita Jenamani. I'm an Indian poet. I am living in Vienna, Austria. Today is a pleasure for me to read a poem of mine for you. But first of all, I must thank Jaydeep and Basudhara for their invitation. Today I'm going to read a poem called Eternal Cities from my bilingual book in Scriptures of St. John's, published from Vienna by Edition Pen Löka Verlag. So let's start. Eternal cities. Beyond the pages of history, in the time-worn shoe soles, we find them. Their fire-branded outlines run through our arteries like morning mantras. Ghostly city limits blur into the dark truths of our soul and affectionately open their cloaks to shield us from dazzling daylights that wipes out our footprints made up of dewdrops. Through their labyrinthine lanes, dunghills, and rows of brick houses, church bells, shimmering masks of gods, and desperate voices of muezzin. Cities pour down on our drenched being like the bestowed childhood. Cities do not exist in any predestined place on earth in sepia color. Cities do not exist in any predestined place on earth in sepia color. They exist inside us. They exist inside us exactly there where a green shoot just dries up, where the sky becomes barren and the sacred river turns into desert. Thank you very much.
Eating His Dead Wife by Danielle Hanson. It doesn't even seem weird anymore, eating his dead wife's ashes in his cereal every morning. He enjoys being with her every day, her inside him for a change. If the cereal is sweetened, he thinks of her eyes. Bran reminds him of her navel and how like a bowl it was. He doesn't know what will happen when he runs out of her again.
The title of my poem, My Freedom. Now that the wind surrenders, the oppressive skies go to hiding, the enemy's hand weakens, lives do not exist anymore. Those hungry children filling the canvas come out in the open under the new sunlight. In my world, the landscape and the farmland that has been held back for years and kept sacred is now free. All the hidden alphabets of life slip out of the dust and haze, erasing those scared faces, those empty eyes. I want to stand on my tiptoes and ready to play around. More leaves, more green forest, more beds of fresh grass. Flocks of birds get larger over the hearths and fields of corn. The flowers blossom in quietude. I'll never live in that world that carries bloodstains and bullet holes under the sleeves. Child on the chest, and listen to mother's song that drifts her towards the rest. I love to see that refuge, that sanctuary. The hum lives on, persists and persists, simmering in color and rhythm. Colors are alluring, the memories swirl, smiles connect each other. I want to have the only thing that counts, freedom. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Catherine Cole and I'm an Australian writer, and I'm going to read a few of my poems. The first one is called Migrant. He must have sensed it amongst the clutter, his early risings and his overtime, known that days had been spent longing for a letter from home. Did not find it easy to sit and unravel her knots of loneliness, so he sang from the bathroom mirror, I'll take you home again, Kathleen, instead. The next poem is called Night Train. A son mouths cliches through the glass and nods at sentences he doesn't grasp. 1 minute to the flag, he sees the gulf, smiles, gestures to his watch, promises to write. Departure unscales the eyes to the body's frailties and each crease of time. After Broadmeadows, his father will be on the train by now. The moon and 2 stars chase the train. A flask of whiskey, a detective novel. Then, from the next roomette, the smell of an illicit cigarette. Cardigan Street. A late dark comes down Cardigan Street. Crows call from London plains. By now you will be chopping at the sink, cat at your ankles, pestering. The ABC News, all bushfires and floods. Our friends live in separate cities too. We talk about distance, remind one another of soldiers sent to war.
migrant workers, or Stapleton in the Antarctic, 5 years between letters. Too tired by the time we call to describe the crow's black flash against red walls, the dome on the exhibition building, or how the summer drought has turned all the grass brown. When next you come here, I will walk you past these trees, past the crows gnawing at plane tree pods, past the promise of Florence in the south. I will sing sailors' songs, compose letters from the trenches of my heart, and hide them in your luggage to read when you get home. And while I wait, I walk Victoria Street, past red brick walls radiant with heat. I look a starling in its cruel eye, step over the bleached bones of dead flowers, and on a church spire a crow, my heart in its beak. The last poem is called Slipstream. She crosses the gangplank, stops, looks back. Beyond the port buildings, crane soft puffs of steam from factory stacks are purple hills far off. Her coat has seen 4 winters. It's tight across her shoulders, lapel run through with a diamante brooch. Which way to go, forward or back? The sky, the hills, the crowd, waving them off. Come, Isabel, her husband snaps. Departure is always pieces of sky, land, water, a rickety gangplank above, concrete bollards and straining ropes. Ahead is ocean. Here seagulls call, people too, their dock faces turned up. A misty rain wets Isabel's face. She smells oil and polish, roasting meat for their first sea lunch. An hour of waving, her sister's passed down coat, warming a cold sailing. Streamers snap, waving their pallid lemons and pinks, soft as skin, broken as land ties. The gangplank is drawn back, the ropes, the widening gap, the water dark. She holds her gloved hands to her face as though they might erase the western hills, still heather purple, crowded dock growing small as water widens. Her children laugh, but on her husband's face she reads anger and loss, knows it's on her face too, that there is little between the two, small as the distance between water and land, old and new. Come on, she says. And so they traipse downstairs with polished rails, along corridors with too many doors. Below the waterline, their cabin has 4 bunks, no porthole. Their suitcases are splayed across the floor, trunks in the hold. She would have stayed on deck to watch the Clyde become sea, to observe the moment when smooth water became this roll and salt descended and the engines churned with a greater purpose. She notices later that birds change too, no longer dock gulls, but seabirds wide of wing, silent in the ship's slipstream. Thank you.
A warm greetings to everybody. With every successive collage, our hearth has been growing, becoming brighter, warmer, stronger. We thank all our fellow poets for joining us in this beautiful journey. for sharing their wonderful poems with us, and for helping us bring more poetry into the world. Thank you so much for being there, and we only hope that the journey continues. Thank you.